Hello, this is the second to last lecture in the first Complementary series. This lecture will be on the gaits of the Icelandic horse. The movements of the horse are grouped into gaits, which have requirements on both beat and footfall. These requirements differentiate between the different gaits. Each gait should be free and soft with a strong beat. Some have suspension and others do not. There are a couple important terms to know when talking about the gaits of the Icelandic horse. One is gaitedness, which is the ability of the horse to perform different gaits, especially the gaits that we consider to be extra as opposed to the three base gaits of walk, trot, canter, so tolt and pace. So you'd say a horse that's very gaited is one that has a high capacity to do tolt, for example. A natural tolter is a horse that chooses tolt and tolts under himself, especially out in the field, or if you just ask for a gait, they'll pick tolt themselves. These horses can be very desirable in that they will tolt without very much effort, but it can also be very difficult for such a horse to trot well, for example. Footfall is the order of the hooves on the ground. Hoof beat is the sound that the hoof of the horse creates when it touches the ground. The beat is the sound the hoof beat makes in the order in which they touch the ground. So, for example, trot is two beated, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Tolt is black and decker, black and decker, black and decker, black and decker. I know that sounds really funny, but some people really do, and I include myself among those. Is if I'm trying to check the beat of the horse, I see how closely it matches that black and decker sound, and if it matches it perfectly, then the horse's beat is likely to be very good. The gait of choice is the preferred gait of the horse, and speed capacity, or in Icelandic it's rými, is the ability of the horse to accelerate in a gait without losing the beat. So if a horse has a high speed capacity, they can go at quite high speeds without getting, for example, if you're talking about high speed capacity in tolt, they can go very high speeds without becoming pacey, without rolling, or without becoming trotty either. There are 5 gaits of the Icelandic horse. That's walk, trot, tolt, canter, and pace. All Icelandic horses have walk and canter, and most have trot. However, some will not do it under themselves, trot, but it can be found under saddle and strengthened. One way that's very common to do that is through trot pulls. The vast majority of Icelandic horses have tolt, however, 3-gaitedness is possible, though strongly avoided. This can happen through incorrect or not carefully done breeding. It also can definitely happen by accident. But this is something that we would greatly want to avoid in our breed, as the tolt is a very huge characteristic of our breed. The speed of a gait depends on the size of the step and the tempo of the footfall. So another way to think of that is how large the steps are, how far they reach, and how fast those steps are, or how close together those steps are. So a horse that moves very far out with their foot, and each foot touches the ground very close to the one before it in terms of time difference, that horse will move the fastest. Whereas a horse with low stride length and very slow tempo will have a very slow speed. Going very fast or very slow, both of those things are very difficult for a horse. The easiest speed is working tempo or medium speed, and this is the speed at which most exercises are done at. So you can see this is the same horse, Nokki frá Fellsskoti, who's an amazing T1 competition horse, and you can see just how much faster his fast is than his slow. If you take the entire video of his slow speed, it takes him about 2-3 minutes to get around the track, while his fast tempo, it takes him about 30 seconds. The different speeds are developed at different times, and this is very dependent upon the horse. However, in general, you first need to be able to ride in working tempo, which is the tempo in which we do a lot of our training of suppleness and beat and strength. Then slow comes after that to get the collection and getting the horse to come underneath themselves. And then finally is the fast. Though there is some variation in whether or not slow comes over fast in different horses, this is the general template to follow. Walk is a 4-beat gait where hooves touch ground at even intervals. There shouldn't be a longer time interval between any two hooves than any other two hooves. There should be always an even spacing between each hoof beat. There's no suspension in the gait, and at all times the horse has either 2 or 3 feet on the ground. The footfall is the left hind, left front, right hind, and right front. You can see the horse here on the right has a very nice walk. It's very ground covering and soft, and it moves through his whole body. You can really look here to see that left hind, left front, right hind, right front beat and footfall, and also see how evenly the spacing is of time between the feet. Here we can see the diagram of the footfall, or the phases of walk. You can see that it always alternates between 2 feet on the ground and 3. This is a very important chart to learn because the more you know about the gait and their phases, the more you know when you can influence the horse to change different aspects of their walk, and also you know when to ask for certain exercises. For example, you can only really influence the foot of the horse as it comes off the ground, and as it's traveling through the air. So if you're asking the horse to move their left hind leg over their right hind leg, let's say in a side pass, then you need to do it as the left hind leg is coming off the ground, and you know that's going to happen right after the right front leg. So that can help you figure out when exactly to influence each foot. Next we'll talk about the trot. Trot is a 2-beat gait where the horse pushes themselves from one diagonal to the other. Suspension occurs between when pushing from one diagonal to the other, and the body of the horse moves up and down, and their back moves significantly up and down. You can see in this video this rider, who's Fröke Schensel, she's sitting quite well on this horse, but this horse has a lot of suspension and is really moving through his entire body. The footfall is left foreleg and right hind leg together, then a moment of suspension, right foreleg and left hind together, and then also suspension. See if I can draw a similar diagram to what we had before for the walk. So trot has 4 phases. There's a reason I didn't go to art school. Apologize for my poor drawing here. So we have the right hind and the left front together. Make that a little better. Print here. Good. Okay. And then we have a moment of suspension, and often in these charts we indicate suspension by putting an X through it. And then we have the left hind and the right foreleg, and then another moment of suspension. So these are the phases of trot. Canter is a 3-beat gait with suspension. with the left or right lead depends on which front foot hits the ground last. So I hope you can see here that this is the left lead canter, as his left front leg is hitting the ground last. If you're talking about this left lead canter, the footfalls are right hind kicks the horse off the ground, then left hind and right fore land together, and last is the left fore. But there's actually also a moment of suspension in here after the left fore. This is the only asymmetrical gait of the horse, in that the left and right side don't mirror each other in the movement. There is a left canter and a right canter. And let's draw the phases here. One thing that confuses people sometimes about the canter is there are actually 6 phases of canter, as opposed to many people think there are 3. So let's draw that here. Again, I apologize for my lack of artistic ability. So we're going to start off here with the right hind leg. And then there's a moment here where the right hind leg is joined by the left hind leg and the right foreleg. Then you have this diagonal is by itself. Then that diagonal pair is joined by the front left. And the front left is on its own. And then you have the suspension. And now I won't draw the right lead phases here. So you can see that if you wanted to draw the same phases for the right lead, you would start with the left hind, then progress to the right hind and left fore, and then the last leg to touch the ground would be the right fore. Tolt. And now this is our most important gait here. It's a 4-beat gait where the hooves contact the ground with even spacing. So this is very similar to walk. There's even spacing of time between each footfall. There's no suspension, and there's always either 2 or 1 hoof on the ground. This is, remember, different from walk, where there's always 2 or 3. However, it does have the same footfalls as walk. So let's look at those phases that we've been drawing for these other gaits here. So in Tolt, remember in the walk you alternate between 2 and 3. Here the alternation is between 1 and 2. So you see you have this left hind on the ground here. Then you have the lateral pair on the left side. And then that front left is left on the ground while the left hind comes up in the air. And then the right hind joins. So now you have a diagonal support. Then you have the right hind is by itself. The right front joins it. So now you have another lateral support. Then the right front is by itself. And the left hind joins it. So now you have another diagonal support moment. And it's very important that the diagonal support moment is equal to the lateral support moment. Because if it's not, it's either trotty or pacey. But that's a little more advanced than you have to know for this level, but just keep that in the back of your mind. Pace. Pace is very fun. Pace is very fast. Pace is 2 beat, with 4 stages. The horse moves the lateral hooves at the same time and has suspension between the hoof contact moments. So let's draw that here again real quick. Now when you start getting into more advanced, you find that there's actually a moment of one hoof support in the pace, but we're not going to get into that quite yet. Just think about it for now. Okay. So every 4 moments here, you have your left side hits the ground together, then you have suspension, and then your right side hits the ground together, and then you have suspension. This is a pretty cool gait because it's very powerful. The lateral legs really push the horse very powerfully. The problem with having lateral support is that it's very difficult for the horse to balance, and this is why we do not pace around corners, for example. So thank you for listening to this lecture. We have one more lecture left in the series, which is about the seat of the rider. And you're well on your way to prepare for the exam. I wish you the best of luck.